Johnny Mnemonic is a notorious cyberpunk film starring Keanu Reeves as a data smuggler in the bleak future of 2021. This was a first time watch for us both, so grab your iPhones and jack in for some mid-90s virtual reality. Welcome everyone to the Atomic Cinema Experiment. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Tara.
Greetings, citizens.
This is a science fiction movie podcast. We get together and we talk about a sci-fi movie. It's that simple. And this is a vote winner. It is also the last of our 90s season. We've been working through a bunch of 90s movies over the last couple of months, and we're wrapping up today with Johnny Mnemonic. Now, of course, we're not done all the sci-fi movies from the 90s. There'll be another season at some point. There's plenty more to do, but we have to cut it off somewhere, and we got some other things to do in December, so we're wrapping up with this one, which I had never seen. Tara, had you ever seen Johnny Mnemonic before? Yeah,
I saw it when it came to HBO when I was a kid.
So in like 96 probably?
Yeah, probably.
Something like that? Okay. I've heard many things about it. I have heard it derided. I've heard it called one of the worst movies of the decade. I've heard it called many things. So I'll be curious to see how we both feel about it. So this was a first time watch for me. We'll start spoiler free, of course, as we always do. I'll give you a warning before we go into the spoilers at some point during the film. But yeah, so that's always a good sign when this is the director's only theatrical movie.
Mm-hmm.
Done a TV movie and some music videos and an episode of Tales from the Crypt, and that is the entire.
Hey, you watched that show?
I did, yes.
Maybe you'll recognize the episode.
I actually don't recognize it. It's been a while. It's been a while though. Okay, it's been a while since I watched all those episodes. It seems like an early episode. It's 1992, so probably an old one. But anyway, so yeah, we'll get into things then. The basic premise of Johnny Mnemonic is that we're in the future of 2021. It's a shame we didn't do this last year, because it would have been.
I know, we missed it.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was set in 2021, but set in 2021, and the internet and data are, ruling the world. The internet, of course, doesn't look like any internet we recognize. It's this virtual city that the camera can pan through. In fact, the movie starts with a title. Down like some movies that will come up saying, Tokyo or something. It comes up at the start of this movie. We're seeing this like digital world goes internet 2021.
I love because at first it looks like you're looking at like a highway from like the point of view of a helicopter or something, but it's the information super highway that you're looking at. It's the internet. Yeah,
so that sets the tone, and then Keanu Reeves plays Johnny Mnemonic. His name is actually just Johnny, because a mnemonic is a role. It is what he does
a title, yeah.
for his living, which is he is renting out part of his brain to securely transport data. Because I guess the idea is that like data can be accessed via the internet, so to keep it safe and secretive, you have to put it into a person, because they can't be just you can't just hook up to them. You can't just connect to them. So he's like a courier of data in his brain. But of course, once he gets the data that he's getting at the start of the movie, turns out the Yakuza want it, an evil corporation wants it, and he's on the run, he's dodging bullets, he has to try and figure out what the data is and ultimately what to do with it. And that is the basic premise of Johnny Mnemonic. So, I guess I'll just ask Tara, what do you think of Johnny Mnemonic?
Well, I do remember watching it when I was a kid and thinking that it was a bad movie. Watching it now, I don't think it's a bad movie anymore. I think it's kind of fun, and it's got like some really great characters in it, especially Dolph Lundgren. He's so good at it. I think the world, like the cyberpunk world, is actually quite cool, and they take some real leaps with it that I think are fun. There's like animals and stuff that are hooked into things. Only smart animals that can consent in the year of 2021. And, got some things right in its predictions.
I'm just trying to...
We see a mass protest happen in China.
I'm trying to navigate how to respond to this and not just you know, feel like I'm just mansplaining. Because
I will admit some of the plot's a little bit messy. Because some of the characters, I'm like, I don't know who this is or how it plays into it.
Tara, I don't think I've ever sat here and thought you're as wrong as you are right now.
10-year-old Tara didn't like it.
10-year-old Tara is apparently smarter than 30 bleep Tara.
No. I watch a lot of bad movies. I know what a bad movie looks like.
This is terrible. This was shit. This was absolute trash. What are you talking about? Actually, the first thought I had, and the first scene with Keanu Reeves where he's talking to someone on a video call, right? I suddenly got it because back in the early 2000s on the internet, and if you're on message boards and things like that, people would make fun of Keanu Reeves. People would say he's one of the worst actors. They'd mock him, call him a plank of wood with a shirt on, all those sort of things. And I remember,
how dare they?
And I remember thinking, yeah, he's not the greatest, but it's a bit harsh. He's good in The Matrix. He's good in Speed. This is the movie. This is why people made fun of him. I get it now, because he is terrible in this. And I'm not saying it's all his fault. I'm sure the direction's part of the problem and the script's part of the problem too. But his delivery and the way he delivers a lot of his lines in this feel like a student actor trying to sound cool, and it's embarrassing to watch. Embarrassing, Tara. It's embarrassing.
There is a very short window of range that is Keanu Reeves. And the one thing you have to do is make him a likable human being, because he just can't not play likable. They do the same thing in The Devil's Advocate, which is actually a pretty fun movie, and I enjoy that movie a lot. But it's also like, who is this guy? This isn't Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves is a nice guy, so he can't be a jerk. You know, I'm not going to buy that. And in this, whenever he's trying to do the lines to make him sound cool, it's because he's trying to come off as like a badass who doesn't have a heart of gold, and I don't buy that. There's only one Keanu Reeves. He could only play himself.
Okay, so that's an interesting analysis of his performance. I'll give it that. There's a lot of faces in this I was not expecting. There's a lot of recognizable faces. You mentioned Dolph Lundgren. He's in there. We have Dina Meyer.
He's a great character.
In the film as kind of the female lead. We have Ice-T in here. Beat Takeshi's in this movie. Takeshi Kitano is in this. I was not expecting to see a respected Japanese actor in this, but there he was.
What is he known for?
He's in Battle Royale, which is what I think most Western audiences are known for. But he's an actor and a director. He's directed a bunch of movies in Japan and stuff. Some of which have been on my to-see list for a long time. I know he's done like Violent Cop and stuff like that. But
a cop movie, a blank cop movie. Add that to my list.
But he directs and acts in like a lot of the same movies.
Is he the one with the laser whip?
No. He's the older one. He's the one that's in charge.
Oh, okay, yeah.
All right. So that's Beat Takeshi, and then you got Udo Kier in a small role as well. So there's a lot of faces in this that I recognise, which I was not expecting. I really thought it'd be Keanu Reeves and a bunch of no names. I mean, Ice-T doesn't surprise me because Ice-T is usually in trash, but yeah,
not this time though. Although he does live in trash.
What do you mean not this time? Stop with this narrative that you're trying to spin here.
I don't know what you're talking about.
This movie's garbage.
It's fun. It's fun to watch. It's a cool cyberpunk world.
This was a chore to sit through. I was in pain. This was like 97 minutes, and it felt like 3 hours long.
I love the prediction of the future of 25 years into the future, with or 26, I guess, from when the movie came out. With like the internet still requires you to use dial-up at that time. Because whenever he connects, you can hear the dial-up noise and stuff.
There was a lot of
it's funny.
There was a lot of old like things that feel dated now, even though it's supposed to be the future.
Yeah, it's always like the same little like tiny CD-ROMs.
Yeah. What I will say is that this is the second movie we've watched now. The last one being the bonus Patreon movie that have used the phrase iPhones to mean like a VR headset, because it's like earphones but for your eyes. But obviously, when we hear the phrase iPhone, we think of something very specific in the modern world. So it's just funny that two movies from the mid-90s, because Lawnmower Man 2 was the other culprit. Check out our review on Patreon for that. But
this movie has a lot of Lawnmower Man in it, too. A little bit Lawnmower 2.
Well, Lawnmower Man 2 came after this, so you could argue that maybe stole some things. But then you could argue this stole a little bit from Lawnmower Man 1, so, I mean,
yeah,
whatever.
Well, just because the Lawnmower Man 2 kind of has a more cyberpunk future versus like, the Lawnmower Man doesn't.
This is based on a book, though, I believe, so I don't know when the book came out. Maybe the book predates all of the Lawnmower Man stuff.
Yeah, William Gibson.
But then again, Stephen King wrote Lawnmower Man's original story, so maybe that. So I don't know what original story came first. Maybe the lesson here is simply that these both of them have a lot of generic cyberpunk concepts, and this in particular does them all very poorly.
I think William Gibson wrote like The Neuromancer. I think that's what he's like really famous for.
I'm glad you got that mechanical keyboard so we can all hear you going clackety clack to clack.
That's why I bought it, because I just love the... Yeah, he wrote Neuromancer. And actually wrote a book called The Peripheral, which is like a new movie, I think.
It's a new TV show on Amazon.
A new TV show, yeah.
Yeah, I was mildly interested in checking that show out, but you know, if this is a example of his of his writing.
Well, Neuromancer is pretty famous, because I think that's also like a cyberpunk thing.
I think I've vaguely heard of it, but I don't really know much about it. Yeah, no, I think this movie has problems up and down. It feels like it's been cut down. It feels like a mess in the editing room has been created by trying to get it down to a short runtime. There's actually like a big thing towards the end of the movie where there's some stuff happening in like the cyber world, and they straight up have to have a character, the one played by Ice-T, has to just narrate and tell us what's happening in it, because if he didn't, we would have no idea what the visuals were, because they're nonsense. That they make no sense. Like, they're just bad CG fluff. So at some point they realize this and says, shit, we're going to have a character just tell the audience what's happening so they understand it. You know, kind of like a commentator would tell you what the rules of the sports game are if you didn't understand, just so you understand why the teams are doing this thing or why this is happening. So,
well, I don't think Dina Meyer like knows what's happening, so I'm sure she appreciates being told.
Doesn't justify the bad movie etiquette.
I don't know. I think it was okay. I appreciated it because I was a little bit lost.
Well, you were lost because nothing makes any goddamn sense. Nothing's properly set up or explained.
Well, I mean, at the core concept, I understand.
Yeah, the core concept, but there's so many. Like, at its core, it's a very simple concept. Data is transferred via human brains, and these people are called mnemonics. That's what Keanu Reeves is playing, right?
He sacrifices some memory in order to install computer memory.
We'll get into that, but then the other part of the premise is that there's, like, you know, bad guys after him because they want the data, right? Simple A to B story. Bad people after him. The fact that it's in his head's almost irrelevant. If this was like a physical item he had on him, the plot would be the exact same, right? And that'd be fine. You can work with that. That makes sense. But this movie muddies everything up, and all it really is a series of him running into new groups of people over and over again, and things just happen, and there's very little momentum beyond just, oh, we've met this character for their 10-minute sequence, so now we're going to go to the next 10-minute sequence with the next character or a group of people that's going to end probably badly, or at least in a bit of a chase, and repeat and over and over we go. There's two.
How is that different from the plot of like Bullet Train or something else?
What?
A guy has something people want, and he just runs into different groups of people who want the thing from him, and it's just overcoming those obstacles to get to the final destination.
You've not seen Bullet Train?
No, I haven't.
Clearly.
I'm judging from the trailer. How is it different than like Minority Report then?
Oh my god. What, you mean another movie I don't like that much?
That's a shame.
But it is different from Minority Report. I wouldn't compare them at all, other than the fact that they're both set in the future.
The chase movie, he keeps trying to run into these groups of shady people in the, you know, this this post-apocalyptic world. Not quite post-apocalyptic.
Tara, you're missing the point of what I'm saying. You're taking what I said and applying it, because you can technically apply that to a lot of movies. The problem that I'm saying is that that's all this movie is. There's nothing else on top of it to actually make it work or feel the driving force from one section to the next.
I think the characters are pretty good. I would say Johnny is
oh my
an
god,
okay character.
No, they're terrible. What is this?
But all the villains are great. Like,
no, they're shit.
especially Dolph.
No, I mean, Dolph is kind of funny. Like, he's the only one I kind of like because it's funny that he's playing this weird Jesus-looking version of himself. But there's too many villains. They're superfluous. It's unclear what the hierarchy of some of the villains are at times. There's a portion of the middle of the movie where they're just forgotten about for a large, chunk of time, and then they come back in like nothing's ever happened. I don't know. Like, I think this is a messy ass sloppy movie with lots of bad dialogue and acting, including from actors that I typically might like, right? Because I like Keanu usually. He's terrible in this. He's laughably bad in this.
He's acceptable in this.
He's cringeworthy.
I don't know. I like the 90s cyberpunk look to everything, and I think it works just fine. In fact, there's a Blu-ray release that came out this year for a black and white version of Johnny Mnemonic, and I ordered it after I watched this movie. Well, I don't think that Keanu Reeves is that bad in the movie.
He's terrible. Every single, like, from the very first scene he's in, like, he makes demands when he's on the call, and he comes off as a child trying to make demands to sound tough. I don't know. I was getting like secondhand embarrassment watching this. This kind of felt like, oh god, how is this a year after Speed? I mean, I know that Speed wasn't this big grand performance or anything, but
yeah, I think they just, like I said, Keanu's got a limited range, and you got to make him a likable person through and through, like in Speed, or like in everything else, in 2000s after, because I mean, or like you can't put him in a period piece film, or like a Dracula movie.
Oh yeah,
he's supposed to be British. He can't do accents.
Well, he's bad in that too.
He has to do. He is bad in that, but that is a good movie, and I know you don't like it, but that's a good movie.
No, I don't like it. No, I don't. This is worse than that movie though, from my memory.
My memory said it was bad, but maybe because I had low expectations going into it, I'm like, oh, actually, I kind of dig it.
I
had fun. You can have fun and be like, okay, well, maybe the movie's not up to snuff for everybody, but like, it's still fun. Like,
There's nothing wrong with liking a bad movie, but you can't like put your foot in the ground and say, no, it's good because I had fun.
I guess. I don't feel like I'm doing that. I just feel like I'm...
It feels like you are. Me about
Johnny Mnemonic, I'm going to tell you I like it.
This movie's a train wreck. I thought this was this is one of the worst movies we've ever done on this show.
Really? Huh. Well, maybe I'll have a different opinion after I watch the black and white version.
Do you know what was a better movie than this? Moonfall was better than this.
Oh, Moonfall is great. I would put Moonfall over this still.
No, Moonfall's not great. The point I'm making is that that's not a good movie, but it's still much better than this.
Okay, well, you gave me an example of a great movie.
Oh,
I would tell you.
You can admit something is bad, but say you like it for its bad quality. There's nothing. I'm not going to blame you for that.
That one had a real bad performance in it.
But what you're doing right now,
was Halle Berry. Ooh.
No, what you're doing right now is you're doing the Tim Leprechaun bit.
Also good movies.
Where you pretend it's the greatest thing ever,
anyway.
Regardless of what I say.
I'm hearing you. I just don't agree with you. Or like the things that I agree with just don't bother me when it's delivered in a package, like Keanu Reeves' brain.
This movie's everything I hate about. This is like the worst of the 90s, right? This has so many qualities of bad 90s movies that it really just everything about it just feels really lame because it's trying so hard to be cool and isn't, and it's really cringeworthy at times. It's got a really sort of cold atmosphere, and not in like a
It's got like a Blade Runner atmosphere.
Like I'm rooting for the characters in this like, you know, dark world kind of atmosphere. It's just got a really kind of unpleasant quality to it where as I'm watching it, I don't enjoy any of the characters. I don't find any of them likable, right? I don't think Johnny's likable. I don't think Dina Meyer's character
is a mistake. Yeah.
I don't think Dina Meyer's character is likable. The villains, you know, they're villains, but they're not exactly like cool or fascinating to watch either. So you're left with like no one to really root for in a world that, despite what you're saying, I don't think looks that good. It looks like a low budget 90s movie with a lot of like warehouse sets and like abandoned office buildings and like
the sets were pretty exceptional, I thought.
Oh, I'm sorry, can you point me to like a shot outside where you see like the street and like see how futuristic the city looks? I don't remember any shots like that.
Well, like the bridge set up for the low tech gang, like where they're held up and stuff like that. That looks pretty good.
That looked like a typical like TV set to me. It was just
no, the only access point is if you can like get in through an elevator that's controlled by people and it comes down and it's like not a traditional elevator, it's more like a lift for racing like heavy machinery and stuff. Or like if you're trying to break in, you gotta Batman up with the grappling hook. And that's kind of a neat setup.
That's not
Did you not like Ice-T in the movie? I think he was a likable character.
Oh no, that was terrible. He can't act. He's garbage.
He's kind of fun.
It's not fun. Busta Rhymes and Halloween Resurrection, this is on par with. That he might have even been better. I'd have to go back and watch Halloween Resurrection again. But that's saying something. If I'm praising Busta Rhymes and Halloween Resurrection, if I'm comparing a rapper in a movie role, if I wasn't Ice-T in one of the Leprechaun movies? I want to see he was in one of the Hood movies. Probably the first one.
So maybe I've only seen the first 3.
Probably the first one. But I just
are gold. Leprechaun gold.
I hate this review. I hate this conversation. I don't know why I do
Let's
this.
get into spoilers then, so we can, so you don't have to talk about it as much because we'll be done faster.
I hear this. I don't want to talk about it. This is nonsense. I'm talking to someone who's deranged and I don't know, needs professional help.
I mean, I do work around lead.
To sum up my thoughts before we get into spoilers, the way this movie progresses and its plot is so muddy with like what villains are we're supposed to give a shit about, with what the actual mechanics of getting the data out of Keanu Reeves' head is. All of these things are just so muddy that there's multiple points where I'm like, I kind of get what the main point is here, but I don't really understand what they're saying they need to do to achieve it, because it's just poorly set up. And like there's what good writing ultimately is making it easy to understand what the goal is to the audience without it feeling like you're just delivering like step-by-step exposition for it, because that can feel like they're talking down to you. So you want to strike this balance, this magical balance, and this is what good writing is, where you get that information out there, you don't make it feel like it's been like fed to you in like a baby like manner, but it is actually easy to get, and it clicks and you understand it, and at least in the context of each scene you completely understand what the point of each moment is. And I don't know if it's just because we're trying to make everything sound cool, so that like there's extra layers of techno jargon and like complex like little twists and turns to every single thing just to make it feel more cyberpunk. But all it does is make it more convoluted and harder to follow. And then the actual hero villain dynamic is just whatever. And I can't emphasize enough just how shit Keanu Reeves is in this movie. And I like Keanu Reeves in many things, but this is his. I don't know, his shame. This is the thing that he should be, hiding. This is his Star Wars holiday special that he should be like wanting everyone to like destroy all the copies of, so that no one can ever see it again.
That would be an actual shame.
Obviously, I'm not saying that any movie should ever actually have that fate. Everything should always be available, but this is trash. This is one of the worst movies we've ever done on this show, and I cannot believe any of this positive attitude that you have. I shouldn't be surprised. You did stick up for Rocket Man. You've stuck up for Moonfall.
It's great.
You've stuck up for other bad to terrible movies, but this is something else.
Whatever. It was a fun 90s cyberpunk feature with a fun actor and some crazy villains with cool tech and a message about big pharma and pandemics.
Oh, piss off. The message about big pharma, it's the same message that all these types of stories have about big pharma. It's the exact same message that they all have.
Yeah.
Don't even start me on that.
Like, this is 95. That's a long time ago. This is some pretty accurate predictions going on here.
Accurate my ours. I never want to just say to my co-host, you're wrong. But Tara, you're wrong.
I'm sure there are people out there who are on my side who agree that Johnny Mnemonic gets a bad rap, and it's not that bad.
Where's my gift from Arrested Development? There are dozens of us, dozens.
Yes. Sign off, people, in the comments.
This movie's terrible. This is making me this is reminding me of how I felt when I saw the 2002 Rollerball, or just other there's a certain tone of bad sci-fi movie from I guess the mid 90s to about the early to mid 2000s that this is just embodying. It's just all of those feelings of just unlikability that just wrapped up in a ball. Everything about it is just unpleasant to me. I have nothing good to say about this. There's a couple of bits of violence, I guess, that I in theory should like. I don't necessarily think the effects are well done, but
we see an arrow go through an eyeball. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Well, that's clear. I've established nothing else up to this point. We've established that you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Full spoilers for Johnny Mnemonic from this point on.
All right. Let's get into the opening text crawl. If you can remember.
Oh, yes. Well, I wasn't really concerned about remembering the text so much as just the ridiculous, not font per se, but they had this sort of trail back to all the text. So to try and make it look cool, that I just thought looked really.
It did look cool.
It looked try hard. Come on,
No, I thought it was a neat way to do because it's kind of like Star Wars where it's a crawl instead of just a bunch of text on the screen, which is good because it's a lot. There's a lot of.
I don't know. It looked like a 12-year-old just got Windows Movie Maker and was like, "Oh, I'm going to try the different effects and see which one looks good."
Or a director.
That's debatable with this movie. Come on. Director.
Apparently, he always wanted to make or release the movie in black and white, but the studio said no way. No one's going to see a black and white movie. So I'm excited to see this one.
I can't believe you bought a version of this movie after you just watched it. That is boggling my mind. That is my boggle. If anyone asks what my boggle is, that is my boggle.
What's your boggle? Demolition Man's a great movie.
It's a good job we're doing a combined 90s sci-fi list when we do our top 25 at the end of the year, because I can make sure that this travesty does not make it onto the list.
I don't think it would anyway, because I went through my letterbox and was like, okay, what do I really think of these movies? And I've got quite a bit of ones I could pick from the 90s.
Oh, good. That pleases me.
And the black and white edition won't count, obviously.
Well, that's a 2022 release, technically.
Yeah. So it might make my best of the year.
Anyway, Keanu Reeves is so cool. He's got a prostitute.
Yeah.
You're the one who cares about this movie. You need to shoulder the burden here.
Yeah, it's a cool guy. It's just setting up the world, This world in the future is The one profession that always survives, it's the oldest profession in the world. Selling your body for money. He's cool.
He's not.
Well, she's like asking him questions about like, so, where are you going? What's the job? And he's not answering. He's being vague. So that's how you know, okay, he's like an important guy. He's kind of like being established as like a James Bond character, but slimy because it's, a dark underbelly of this cyberpunk future.
What?
You wanted me to... You wanted me to explain it.
I have regrets.
He wears a tux. I mean, or like a suit.
I was going to say, it's not like a tux. I don't remember a bow tie.
Yeah.
Yeah, he calls it Kier, and he wants his memory back. He had to give up his childhood memories. We don't actually get all the details of this till later, but he had to give up his childhood memories to make room for the data. Which, when he goes to like the meeting place, and he points out that these people are a bit different from, because it's implied that his usual clients are the rich corporations, but here it's actually a bunch of defectors. Because the opening text scroll explains that obviously big corporations are in control of everything, but there's like I don't remember what they called them.
A virus?
No. The people, the people who are resisting the big companies, like the low tech guys. That's what they called them, right? Low tech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was Ice-T's gang was called the Low Techs. I don't know if the ones that we meet in the beginning in China are.
Well, the ones that begin in China are defectors from the company who want to like reveal that there's a cure for this virus, which is mentioned in the opening text scroll and then isn't mentioned for like half the movie. So when it came up later, I was like, oh yeah, there's a deadly virus going around. I completely forgot about that because
half the population is suffering from it.
Apparently, yes.
Of Earth.
Wait, are you trying to tell me this is part of his predictions?
I mean,
come on.
Half of us have gotten a virus recently.
This is a virus, though, that's explained by one character as coming from all the tech we have, and that's what's causing it. It's all the data going around. Too much
information. Yeah, it's like Facebook. It's like humans weren't designed to have this much information at once, and we can't process it. And now we can't like decipher what's real and what's not real anymore. Kind of like a virtual reality world. Huh?
I mean, if the movie was actually trying to say that, that'd be one thing. That's the problem with this, is that because it's using cyberpunk tropes, like obviously there's a lot of things that you can say technically, like, well, this fits into this cyberpunk theme and that fits into that cyberpunk theme. But the movie's not really actually focusing on any one thing in particular to actually say something about it. You know, there doesn't focus on, what you just said there. It doesn't focus on the idea of like data being like that. I mean, the central idea of it is actually quite good. This idea that data is so precious and the only way to keep it secretive and not have it be copied is to put it into a human and have them be like a human smuggler of data. Like, that's kind of interesting, but I don't think the movie does anything interesting with it. Like, it doesn't do anything that actually uses it in its premise to be like, saying something about how we use data or how we consume data. Especially since, the first thing I thought was, well, yeah, but why wasn't this like? Because it doesn't just sound like they've smuggled out data that they want to release to the world. It sounds like the company themselves no longer have it because they've taken it, which is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, because it's data. Like, the company didn't have, it on every server that they have.
Well, I mean, this is a different version of 2021. Maybe they don't have paper copies of things anymore.
No cloud backups, perhaps? No?
I mean, it would have to be on a drive, right? Or in somebody's brain, I guess.
It's funny because he shows up and they're like, hey, it's 320 gigabytes of data. And I'm like, you know what? I'm sure 320 gigabytes sounds huge in 1995. These days, not as much. But it wasn't a silly amount. If anything, it's too big, just in the sense that all it is data. Like, if it's just information, and it's not like, video files or anything like that, then 320 is actually a lot. Like,
maybe they're like 3D models or something.
Maybe, yeah.
Take up a lot of data.
Because like, if you have you ever looked at the size of a Word document? They're not. They're not that big. A Word document like won't even crack a megabyte, even if it's quite big. So 320 gigs a lot. Yeah.
That is a lot, yeah.
And they emphasize like, hey, like if your capacity is not big enough for that, that's a problem because it can kill you and it can corrupt the data. And Keanu's like, don't worry, it's not a problem. But he never actually says what his capacity is, which I thought was a big plot point that was going to come up later, and maybe I missed something, but I don't think it ever did.
They said that normal couriers are like 80 gigs, but you can have a special augmentation that can double the size of it to 160, but this is double that. So I guess Keanu's got a lot of space in his head.
There are jokes to be made.
Yeah.
There are jokes to be made.
It's like, don't worry, there's plenty of space. I giggled when you said that.
I mean, I guess that's why it's killing him. But honestly, the way this movie just throws exposition at you so fast, like, it is impossible to retain it all. There's so much that it just constantly keeps happening that it never lets you really settle into anything and really like grasp what it's actually telling you. It's one of the biggest problems that the script has and its pacing has. But yeah, the Yakuza show up. We get like a fight scene where they kill all the people who hired him to do this job. This is after they put the information in his head, obviously, which involves a decrypto key, which is like 3 random images from a TV show that happens to be on.
Yeah, kind of like what we use today to test if you're a robot or not. You gotta click all the buses or the traffic lights in these pictures.
Are you trying?
Well done, Johnny Mnemonic.
Piss off! No. The false equivalency you're drawing here is
if that's the one flaw with the new Blade Runner film, is that that's how you really are supposed to test if they're a robot, right? Is to, all right, show me all the pictures of sidewalks. If you pass, you're not a replicant.
Oh dear. But yeah, so we set up that the main Japanese henchman's got this like laser whip thing that he, cuts off someone's fingers with and whatever. Although notably, it cuts away for the actual slicing. We see his fingers lying there afterwards, but I wonder if this was edited down from like a harsher rating or something.
Maybe. We do get some bodies sliced through and we can see like the meat inside.
Yeah, it felt weird though. I felt like it was hiding it. Maybe the effect just looked bad and it's okay, we're just going to like axe it and
maybe
do it off camera. That's entirely
maybe
possible.
The fingers are too specific, whereas like a meat bag is not as gory. I don't know.
Maybe. But Keanu like puts on a disguise. He's got like a hat and a wig. And he escapes outside. Just casually walks out the elevator like nothing's going on in the world. And then goes to New York because that's where he's been told to go with this information. That's where the rest of the movie takes place, and just kind of one by one runs into different characters. Obviously Dina Meyer ends up staying with him as kind of his bodyguard because she helps him out and he owes her money. He runs into Ice-T early on, but then he pops back up repeatedly later on. Dolph Lundgren doesn't come into it till quite a bit later. There's a lot of stuff with the Yakuza early on that's trying to kind of set up the hierarchy there, although I got kind of confused because henchman Japanese, whip Japanese man, we'll call him Whip because he's got the laser whip. He goes to beat Takeshi, who's like the boss, right? At least that's what it felt like it was supposed to be. But then there was moments where Beat Takeshi was asking him like, okay, what are you after, or like what data does he have? And the guy with the whip's like, oh, I'm not at liberty to discuss that. I'm like, but isn't he your boss? I don't understand the dynamic of this.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'll have to revisit that when I watch the black and white version, see if it comes through a bit more clear. Because I was thrown off by that as well when I watched him. I wonder why he doesn't have like clearance to be able to tell him if he's clearly like in charge.
Yeah. I mean, I think he says he doesn't know, and he's like, and I think Beat Takeshi accuses him of just bluffing, and it's like you're just trying to cover that you don't know. But it's still, the dynamic felt weird to me. Like, why would he even think he could say that and that would be an acceptable response if this is just your boss? I don't know. It was a bit odd to me.
I don't know. Maybe it's kind of like a Grand Moff Tarkin and Darth Vader situation where they're both clearly like their own bosses, but they also kind of work for the same person.
I don't think so, because the rest of the movie kind of plays it like Whip Guy wants to like backstab his boss and take over. Because he tries to do that at the end.
Yeah.
By killing him.
Well, maybe if he feels like he gets the info, then that's all the power he needs. If they can get this data.
Maybe it's part of his takeover plan. There's a passing mention in this scene that Beat Takeshi is grieving for someone. It never actually says who early on. It's not until right near the end where he becomes more sympathetic to Johnny Mnemonic when he realizes what the data is, which is a cure for this disease that's going around because his daughter died from it, and he's actually going to side with Johnny because he's like, no, the world should have this cure, blah blah blah. Because the thing with the cure is the pharmacy companies realize they make more money treating the disease than curing it, so they don't want the cure to be out there, which was the most predictable. Like that's like every evil pharmaceutical company story ever. We make more money if cancer still exists than if we eradicate it.
Yeah, I guess that's true. It is. I don't know. I mean, there's so much money in pharmaceutical companies that it is easy to fall into that conspiracy theory of like, are they just keeping people sick, or are they like making new diagnoses and feel like just so they can make more medicine to treat that? Like I heard that video game addiction is now like a thing you can treat. With pharmaceuticals.
That's exactly why the conspiracy nonsense is a bit weird. Is just like, they can literally make up shit like that to charge people for. They don't need, like, and even if like they have a cure for cancer, it's like, well, yeah, but if someone gets cancer, it's a once in a lifetime thing for most people. Just charge, make it like a $10,000 expense to like cure it, and just make all your money off the cure.
Yeah. Well, the big one here is the EpiPens. That's like a huge one here, is that, it's obviously a life-saving cure for a lot of people. If they get exposed to something, they can have an allergic reaction to it and die. But EpiPens are like $2,000. I don't even know, but they are very expensive for a one-time dose. And like, people who have those type of allergies always have to have one on them.
Yeah, they're free here because I know people who have them. They just get given them.
Exactly. Yeah. Like they should be free because they're a life-saving, tool.
But this is we're getting away from the movie. This is just to talk about the world.
It's in the movie. Yeah.
It's kind of in the movie. It's in the movie in the most shallow, just throw it in there kind of way. Which is the problem with every idea in this movie, is everything's just its most base, shallow version that just feels like it's complicated because the movie's overly confusing, or more confusing than it should be for the premise that it is. Like, constantly characters just say they're doing things. Like, there's a scene, so after Keanu goes to try and beat up Udo Kier, which actually Udo Kier gets killed off quite quick by laser whip dude. He gets whipped through the shoulder into his chest.
He gets double whip.
Yeah.
And then like slides.
But they had Keanu tied up, but then he convinces Dina Meyer to like help him escape, and he'll pay her, and she sort of becomes his bodyguard, because that's what she does. She's a bodyguard apparently.
Yeah, she saved him from like this Bond villain contraption where he was tied up and stuff, and
yeah,
they were like explaining things to him like he was Bond.
Yeah, but after this, they end up running around in like the subway tunnels or something for a while, just to get away, and
the sewers. Yeah,
they break into like some sort of office somewhere down in the subway or the sewer system, and Keanu's like, okay, I'm going to try and do something, and there's a whole scene of him putting on a VR headset. Even he calls them the iPhones, and he describes all the equipment he needs, and he jacks in, and he's into cyberspace, and he's moving things with his hands. And like, I have no idea what he was doing in this scene. He eventually makes a call. The second thing he does is he makes a call to someone who's not happy to hear from him. But like, everything that's happening in this scene, it's treated like, oh, this is a big moment, he's doing all this stuff, he's going to try and solve something or like get to the bottom of things. But the movie's not done enough, and the way it's just sort of thrown things out there is that it's just all fluff. It's all just like, look at him doing sci-fi shit, but we don't actually understand exactly what his goal is. We don't know what he's trying to achieve, what the goal in the scene is, so that we can tell if he succeeded or not. We just have to go off the reactions and the lines of dialogue after he's failed. That he's failed. There's nothing for us to hook into as an audience and actually like understand as the scene's progressing that it's actually building up to a success or a failure.
I thought he was trying to like see if he can not hack into his own brain. That comes up later, but like see if he can find an encryption or something in his in the data that was downloaded to him, because he does like jack in to that's a Lawnmower Man 2 reference, but he does like get a little piece that attaches behind his ear.
No,
and
they
goes into his
say
brain and stuff like that.
they say jack in this.
Okay,
Later on, Ice-T tells him to jack in. Yeah.
nice.
The phrase is used. Jack in, jack off. What's the difference? So
Big snap everywhere.
that's a Lawnmower Man 2 line, just in case anyone wants to know where that came from. I didn't think of that comic piece of genius. No, I mean, I think technically if you go back and listen to every word and really like decipher it, you can figure out what he's doing in the scene. But it's not set up in a way where you just like get the goal and you understand in a broad sense. Like there's so much little jargon just thrown out that the cat's interfering. Very good. There's so much little jargon that's just sort of thrown out so quick that the movie just keeps going without actually making us care about what they're doing in any given scene. And this is just a really great example of it, I think, because this was one of the first times in the movie where I'm just like, okay, you're doing stuff. I don't really know what your goal is right now, but it's meant to be high tech and fancy, so I guess I'm oohing and ahhing in the audience.
It is a chance for it to show off its special effects,
Which they shouldn't want to. They should be hiding. They should be ashamed of these special effects.
For the time, it was good.
No, much like Lawnmower Man, it doesn't matter like the justification for it. The effects inside cyberspace they're ugly. Like it's not about them not being technically advanced to a later time period or whatever. They just look ugly on the eye.
Maybe it should have been black and white, like the director originally wanted. I'll update you. I'll let you know how I feel about it.
I don't care. I really do not care.
That's so sad.
I could not give a shit how the black and white version changes anything. Yeah, honestly, it's hard to parse out in my head because it's after this they go to someone she knows because she starts having like convulsions and she's like, she's sick.
Spider. Yeah.
She's got the thing. So they go to this doctor guy named Spider, who is like a doctor, but he also specializes in like the tech side of things as well. Because he's. I thought this actor was terrible too. Like again.
Oh no, I liked him.
Oh no, like he was over like doing every single line, and again, I don't know if it's like the actor's bad or if it's just
Tony Rollins.
Henry Rollins.
Henry Rollins.
Yeah. I don't necessarily think the actor himself is bad per se. Much like I like Keanu and other things, this guy's probably fine and all stuff. But he is just hamming it up here, something fierce. He's overdoing every single line. It's like every line has to be the most intense it can be. There's no like variance. He's just intense with every line when he's talking to Keanu. It's really weird. And then they go to like a hospital, like an underground hospital system, where they check up on like Keanu's brain or something. It's like like these are the options. We could take it out, but it'll probably turn you into a vegetable. So,
but they know what it is at this point. Also,
they figured out that it's the cure for everything, and that's the other thing. This actually might be a good character moment for Keanu if he's faced with this choice of, do I risk myself effectively dying, if not actually dying, for billions of people who will benefit from this cure? Like, it'd be interesting to see him actually weigh that up and maybe feel conflicted about it. But
he says, "No way."
He's like, "No,
not a chance. I got to keep my brain."
So likable. He's such a great character.
Well, I mean, the other characters bring it up. Like, this is not just about you anymore. Like, I know everybody wants to save you, of course.
Exactly.
He can,
but he doesn't react to it though. When they tell him to this, he just keeps the same stoic face and nothing like like you don't get that they've hit a nerve. Like he finally feels something because they said that.
He's just determined to find another way.
He's the plank of what the internet said he was in 2002.
That's not very nice. There are some roles that he is perfect for.
I agree.
Like
there
The
is.
Matrix, John Wick, Point Break, and probably Bill and Ted, though I've never seen those movies.
I mean, I like Speed. I mean, you know,
Speed is great. Oh, yeah.
you know,
Speed, Point Break, John Wick, you know.
I'm not really into Point Break, but you know.
Really?
Yeah.
Such a cool movie.
Do you know what it is? I'm not saying it's as bad as this, but I think the fact that I saw the first Fast and the Furious movie first, and it's the exact same plot, just with like speed, with like street racing instead of surfing.
Yeah, but that movie sucks.
Yeah, but it's the same plot. So when I saw Point Break, all I could think was this is just Fast and the Furious with surfing. It's the exact same plot. Undercover cop, you know, goes into this group.
I am an FBI agent. My favorite is when I watched it on TV on like TNT, and it was edited because they do that in wherever. I think California is when I saw it, and but they always dub the editing, so like they'll edit out the cuss words and they'll put in something else. And before he's about to like jump off the plane without a parachute, he clearly yells, you know, the F word. But they dub in, "Let's do this." Instead, it's so ridiculous. Because you can see him mouthing just one syllable.
Don't get me wrong though. I'm saying I don't like Point Break that much. Point Break is not a trash movie like this is. You know, Point Break's still a real movie. It's Catherine Bigelow directed. You know, it still functions as a real movie. There's a big difference
I would
between.
say Point Break is better than Johnny Mnemonic. We're in agreement.
Yeah, but yeah, but when you say that, it's like you have to say that. You have to clarify it because people might actually think you like them both equally. And that's the problem here, Tara. That's the conundrum we're all having.
Look, I am what I am.
Delusional?
Maybe. I don't know.
Crazy
I saw
woman?
a good movie and you didn't, apparently. So one of us is delusional.
You did not see a good movie. You're seeing things that aren't there. I'm sure of it. So yeah, I mean, honestly, it's around this time where Doctor Guy dies around here. When the Yakuza, or I don't know, maybe it's Dolph Lundgren who shows up. Whoever shows up in the scene. But from here, like, I got really confused because like Johnny starts seeing like this like woman in his head, right? That's not really introduced properly, and it wasn't until I sort of like looked it up after that it was like, oh, it's an AI in his head that's trying to help him. And I'm like, I thought it was his mother, because they set up early on that his mother, like, he couldn't remember his parents, and they said, oh, maybe there's like fragments still existing, like some residual memories. And I was thinking, oh, maybe this is his mother in his head talking to him. Like, that's what I thought it was until I looked it up. I was like, oh, it's just an AI. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it would be odd if it was his mother, just because the AI doesn't just talk to Johnny.
No, yeah, eventually talk to someone else, yeah.
But I was confused as to who she was as well. But it does explain it at the end.
Confusing mess. It's a good way of summing up this movie.
That part was definitely confusing.
I mean, a lot of it is. And it's not even confusing. Like, it's not like it's overly complex necessarily. It's just confusingly told, and things aren't really conveyed to the audience properly, like I said. So, but anyway, so after this, they end up. He makes another call to. He thinks he's talking to the company Pharma Bits or Pharmacon or whatever they're called, and to exchange the data for like safe removal and whatnot. But he's actually talking to beat Takeshi, who's using like a technology, like he's got like a deep fake thing going on to talk to him over the video phone. So the big climax in the movie takes place where Ice-T's group all live, which is on this like bridge one of the famous bridges, probably from New Jersey to
New York.
New York. Yeah, I assume that's what the bridge is supposed to be, but it's like partly
Maybe Brooklyn Bridge.
Maybe.
There's a lot of bridges, aren't there? Wasn't that one of the movies that came out with Chadwick Boseman?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Bridges.
Yeah, true. Yeah, but they specifically said they were in New York, so I'm assuming it's like one of the Jersey bridges specifically.
Yeah.
Whereas Brooklyn Bridge, I would say, is a New York specific bridge. But what the hell do I know about the map of the greater New York area?
There. Yeah, I was supposed to go this year, but plans changed.
I feel like I've learned most of what I know about New York's map from the Spider-Man video game.
Yeah.
Like now I know where Hell's Kitchen is on the.
But we don't get to go to the bridges in that game.
No, we don't, because we're all just in like Manhattan. But still,
yeah,
it's fun though, because like now I'm like, oh, so when they say Upper West Side, like I know where that is now roughly.
I love that game. That it gives you the option of fast travel, and you're like, why would anyone fast travel in Spider-Man?
Absolutely, it's too much fun.
Fast travel is just picking up more speed when you're in the air.
That said, though, the PS5 version loads so quick that it does save a lot of time. Like, you literally just go blink and then you're there.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best part of the game, is to fly around.
Sure, yeah, I mean, it's fair. But, yeah. So, there's like a really silly bit here when they get to this bridge where, like, the two idiots who work for Ice-T, like, drop a car. Mm-hmm. From the bridge.
They get killed, right? Oh, you mean later or earlier? Yeah.
Yeah, no, they get killed later, but they drop a car like before they go up and see Ice-T. There's like a scene where the car comes down and explodes, and then Johnny starts like yelling, and this is like one of his worst acting moments in the whole movie. He starts basically getting frustrated and yelling at everything he wants in life. He wants to be successful. He wants to live in a fancy place. He wants a $10,000 per night hooker. It's a very expensive hooker.
He wants all the best money can buy.
Here's a question though. That sounds like something that's out of his reach. How much was the hooker at the start of the movie? Because she looked pretty upper class as far as hookers go.
Oh yeah, she definitely looked like full on celebrity escort.
Yeah. So like if that's like, let's say she's $1,000 a night. I don't know. I don't know what this weird alternate 2021 economy's like, but like what's a 10,000? Like an actual celebrity? Is this movie's university's version of OnlyFans? They'll straight up just be escorts, like the celebrities.
I mean, the times are rough.
It's like Cameo, but with sex.
Yeah, maybe. I like this world you're building. Expanding on the world that's given to us in the movie. It's good.
I don't appreciate your tone.
Why?
Because you're trying to pretend that this movie is given us something to build on. Your agenda here is to pretend that this isn't a complete dumpster fire. And
there were definitely dumpster fires in the movie, though.
There was. Well, they couldn't afford any actual like production design that showed it was the future, so we got barrels with fire in like rundown areas.
Yep. Flaming cars being dropped from the sky.
Yeah, so anyway, he's up to Ice-T's place. He's got a dolphin with like a headset on. Which Keanu keeps calling him a fish, and I'm like, just call it a dolphin. Like, I mean, fish, obviously they want the joke so someone can correct him and say it's a mammal, but like...
Well, who corrects him? The mammal. The actual dolphin is the one that corrects him.
With Microsoft Sam, yes, yes. But... whatever. Anyway, the dolphin can help extract the things, but obviously before that happens, we have to have a big fight where every villain that we've got, so beat Takeshi, laser whip Yakuza guy, Jesus Dolph Lundgren, all show up. There's, like, I will say, I like how Dolph Lundgren dies because he gets burned alive, and it does actually look quite funny the way like his entire
microwave.
Yeah, he just completely burns.
Don't you love his knife that's a cross with Jesus on it? But then if you keep going down the cross, it's a blade.
I kind of liked his character in a sort of bad movie way, just because when he showed up and he's got his like robe on, he just puts his hand. He's got the beard and the long hair. He puts his hands out and goes, "Come to Jesus," in Dolph Lundgren's voice, and I thought that was funny.
I thought he was great in the movie. Like, he was really fun and
But he doesn't-
hamming it up. But I just thought it was so fun.
No, if you give me a movie about his character, which is he's credited as a street preacher as his title, right?
Yeah.
He's actually second billed on IMDb, which, you know, props to him. But like,
They know what people are watching for.
but like, if they actually designed a movie, like not necessarily based around him, but fit the tone that he belongs in, I might enjoy it as a fun, stupid movie, right? He feels like he's out of place in the tone that this movie's actually trying to achieve.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's got a shtick, which is the Jesus stuff. I like that there's like virtual church that people call into in order to get his services, but his services are for murder because he is the wrath of God.
He's a hitman. He's a hitman who, you know, pretends that he's...
He actually could be a John Wick villain, honestly. Also, a prediction.
Actually,
from
there's
this movie in '95.
I can't remember what scene it is. I think it's in the middle of the movie, but like Keanu like does a couple of quick punches and kicks to someone and like kicks him out a door, and it looks so shit. Like it was just this flat wide shot. Clearly didn't have like a proper like choreographer like actually like train any, like, you know, it's not a martial arts move like John Wick. It's just like it's like really generic. Like this is what an action scene in an 80s TV show would be, where they just quickly have the actor do a couple of punches and kicks and that's it, over. It kind of felt like
Johnny
that.
Mnemonic's not meant to be a fighter, you know. He's just meant to be a courier. He's meant to give up parts of his brain and make money off of it.
Yeah, but it looked bad in a movie sense, though, is what I'm saying. It looked really... It looked like a couple of actors going through a couple of emotions, as opposed to someone who's...
Just a few more years, he'd get so much better.
Well, yeah, after all that Matrix training, sure. But like it looked like actors struggling to pretend to fight, as opposed to a character who's not meant to be good at fighting. Okay.
I mean, they probably blew all their budget on the sets.
No, they didn't. No, the sets look like shit. What are you talking about? It's just old computers and like wires and rundown buildings. This is like direct-to-video cheap set city.
Oh, I thought they looked kind of cool. Just the walls of like monitors or TV monitors and stuff like that. I don't know. I like the old future look. This is 90s future.
No, I like retro future. Retro future, though, is something that's a bit more designed, like Alien, or... I mean, I wasn't retro future when they did it, obviously, because they were doing...
Yeah, of course. This is what we predict the future's going to look like, and, you know, they inevitably get stuff wrong, and I love that. And I really love it when they get stuff right.
But this is less design and more just, what can we do for cheap? And that can work to a point, but I can't believe I'm going to say this. Lawnmower Man 2 had a better sense of a futuristic world than this did. And Lawnmower Man 2 was technically set at present day 1996.
Yeah, but Lawnmower Man 2 also just like completely ruins the first movie, which had like a different ending and stuff like that. So it's not consistent to the world that it's built. It's just like, let's just make a different world completely.
That's true. No, that is a valid complaint as a sequel. But like, I'm just going to say it. Lawnmower Man 2 is actually a better movie than Johnny Mnemonic.
Really?
It's not good. It's a badass movie. I hate it. But it was better than this.
I can't remember what you think you... Okay, I think I remember what you rated that.
I gave that a 3 if I recall correctly.
Well, edit that out. We want people to pay for the Patreon.
Yeah, but they didn't hear the reasons. There's a lot of good reasons for that movie. We gave them a tease on one of the bad jokes in it. There's a lot more to come. Bye. So Laser Whip guy has a big fight with Keanu, and they end up dangling from like a shipping container off the end of this bridge, and Keanu basically turns on his whip thing so it like decapitates Laser Whip guy's own head, and he falls to his death. So that's that. This is after he's already shot his boss in the back, and his boss, now hearing that the data that's there is the cure for the thing that killed his daughter, gives Keanu the other half of the cipher, because back at the start of the movie when they first came in and attacked him, they split the 3 images that would unlock the data safely in half, and the Yakuza had the other half, and the old man, just before he dies, like hands him the half and he's like, do it. Like,
yeah,
you know, save the world, do it. So Beat Takeshi.
Anyway.
Honestly, Beat Takeshi ends up being the most sympathetic character in the whole movie because he's the only one who actually has an arc. He's the only one.
Well, Keanu is gonna settle with Dina Meyer instead of like his $10,000 night hookers. That's kind of an arc.
Oh, what growth! What growth! I'll have this beautiful woman who actually wants me rather than a hooker who wants nothing to do with me. And it's going to cost 10 grand a night. That's a very expensive lifestyle. Assuming he's in the mood every night. Maybe I'll take that day off. Maybe Sundays are quiet nights.
I mean, this is young Keanu, probably.
But no, like Beat Takeshi's character, he is kind of a villain, although he's very undercooked because we hardly see any of him, to be honest.
Like Dolph.
We see him at his desk a few times throughout the movie, but he does have a change where he hears what the data is and he makes a choice to do something good instead. Actually, the only decision that a character makes in this whole movie that I found likable. So props to Beat Takeshi.
There you go. There's your arc.
For one character who has like a combined maybe 8 minutes, not even that, probably like 5 minutes of screen time combined. Mm-hmm. Not a lot. It's definitely not a lot. So yes. So after all the action's done, he straps on the VR headset. But I think there's maybe a bit of VR before as well, because I think that's when he's making the digital copy of himself because there's like a firewall or something, and you'll understand what's happening because Ice-T's explaining it all as it's happening, because otherwise it would make no sense. It's just a blob mess of pixels, and there's like a almost kind of human shaped version of Keanu.
This is where it gets the end of Lawnmower Man. This is actually the scene that I remember watching when I was a kid.
Yes.
I remember this digital effects and going, that looks bad.
Oh, it looks horrendous. It's
it looks like Lawnmower Man.
Like
the end of that, where they try to give him a face and stuff in the virtual reality.
That's the stuff nightmares are made of, quite frankly.
He's very cylindrical.
Yeah. So basically, as he's doing this, they're also broadcasting the data that comes out of him, so it gets broadcast to the world, so that everyone knows there's a cure. And then the movie ends with a horrible green screen shot of for some reason the headquarters skyrise of this company is on fire at the end, and I don't know why.
The people are protesting. That's what AST says. He said the people are basically taking the power into their own hands to say we're going to eradicate evil, and because they're trying to withhold the cure from us.
It's nice for them to tell us that and not show us it, isn't it?
Well, they did show. They showed the building on fire.
The top of a skyscraper. How did the rioters set the top of a skyscraper on fire?
I don't know.
Within 5 minutes. Within 5 minutes, no less.
Well, the people are angry.
Bullshit. There's also a scare that Keanu may have died for a second when the VR headset comes off, but he's fine. He gets up.
Yeah, he's alright.
He has a memory of his childhood with his mother and his brother or whatever, and he's like, oh. And then him and Dina Meyer look out at the city, which is a horrible green screen shot, and we go to the credits. And this dreadful experience comes to an end. This dreadful, unlikable, cold, just unpleasant atmosphere with no one to root for, no ideas to root for.
Well, I think you can root for Johnny after he gets his memories back, because that's when he kisses Dina Myers, and is like, maybe it's the movie's trying to say now that you need to have your childhood memory in order for you to be a decent person and not be so selfish.
That is being very generous to this movie to suggest that that's what it's saying.
Well, I don't know. That's the thing that he longed for, and that was the thing that was missing. And then, his character kind of changes after the experience.
Honestly, this idea that a character really wants, he's not got amnesia per se, because he still remembers who he is, but he doesn't remember anything, any of his childhood. But the idea that he's longing to have that back, that's actually quite an interesting motivation for a character. I don't think this movie actually really leans on it that much, or even really talks about how it affects him. Yeah, the movie you're describing here, where there's a character who's kind of cold because he's missing that part of his life, and he doesn't really get to be who he's supposed to be until he can remember who he is properly. That's actually quite an interesting character journey for me. I don't think this movie doesn't explore it, though. This movie is just him in set piece after set piece with each new group of character or villain that he encounters, until we have this mostly unfulfilling, couple of fun moments with Dolph Lundgren aside, ending, and then the movie's over.
By the way, gets microwaved to death by the dolphin. It's a good death. You said it was a good death, but I don't know if you said how it happened. So.
But he gets electrocuted.
With the microwave. He said it was microwave.
Yeah, but
so
he's not.
You watch him cook.
Yeah, but he's not in like a box though. He's just like hitting some wires and.
Yeah, it's like a dish that they can, point at him.
Yeah.
And he gets cooked.
He's basically just on fire. That's what it looks like.
There's a tease that at the end that he might be coming back to life, and I'm like, no way. That would make this movie a 10 out of 10.
Well, yeah, I think what you say is a tease he's coming back to life. I think what you have to emphasize here is that after he's burned, he's literally like this. He's not even like it's not Dolph Lundgren anymore. It's just like a puppet of like this charred body, and then like, the head and hands start to like sort of rise up, and you think he may be alive again. And then it's all just like a joke / fake out, because what it actually is two of Ice-T's guys are just lifting him up on a crane to move the body away, and that's all it is.
And they throw it off the bridge.
Yeah, but that's why it's funny though, is that it's not just that it's not like movie burned where he's got a little bit of like a charred look in his face. Like he is like a husk. He's just like all his skin's gone. He's just like a black and red like.
There's absolutely no way.
Meat. Right, that's all he is. He's just burnt meat at the end.
Yeah.
So
and bone.
All right, I'm done. I don't have anything else to say. This movie's absolute garbage.
Oh, okay.
I don't even have fun making fun of it because you would just argue with everything I said. You just kept trying to pretend it was good.
I don't know, man. I don't think it's as bad as you're saying it is. I think it's actually kind of a cool world and a fun look at the future. With some great characters.
And yet, I don't recall a single piece of evidence to suggest why anything I said was incorrect. Not one. Not like you're saying maybe why you kind of enjoyed it.
I feel like we watched two different movies then.
But not a single shred of evidence why a piece of character motivation works or why anything works. I don't know. You've given me nothing.
If you say so. I feel like I've given a lot here.
Like I don't want to be mean and just say Tara was wrong, but Tara was wrong. Okay.
You already said that earlier.
It bears repeating in this instance.
You think people will laugh the second time?
I think they will. They'll have a good callback, right? Rule of threes. When I say it again at the end, they're going to love it that time.
Everyone was just gonna pause the podcast and start clapping.
I really can't emphasize just how miserable I was watching this. This was not good. Everything about it, the way it looked, the way it felt, the performance right from the first minute of screen time, it gave me a vibe that I just thought was unpleasant, and I really can't emphasize that enough.
I don't know, man. I mean, I think it's pretty fun. I guess we'll get into ratings, but I'm not going to go too high on the rating. And if that's okay, if I can go to my rating.
Yes, your credibility's in the mud as it is, so yeah, I would recommend not going too high on the rating. Well,
yeah, I think there are some things that keep it from being a great movie, but I do like the cyberpunk future from the 90s when everyone's afraid of like this new technology called the internet. And I don't know, I guess maybe a little nostalgia for that kind of thing. I think Dolph Lundgren is from a different movie, but I love that he's in it because his character is awesome. I like the Yakuza guy with the it's like a lightsaber, but it's also a just a string used for choking, and it just cuts through people's heads. Like that's a cool villain. Like this movie's kind of full of cool villains, and I think
there's too many. That's part of the problem.
There's like 3. It's not that many. A lot of people want what's in Keanu's brain.
They're not set up properly. They don't like. There's no build up to like Dolph. Really, it's like like the other villains disappear and show back up. I don't know. It's a mess.
I think it's okay to not have so much cynicism in your heart when you watch a movie like this. And I'm going to give it a 6.5.
6.5.
Yeah, I'm hoping that the black and white one, bumps it up.
First of all, the line that set me off at the start of your like ramble there was there's a few things keeping this from being a great movie. Like it's teetering, like it's even teetering anywhere close to great. This movie is a 2.5 out of 10. It is garbage. It is exactly the sort of garbage that I hate from this era in particular of Hollywood. I think it's a nasty little film that is completely unlikable. There's this. It's funny you say that. I'm being cynical. I think there's a cynicism to this movie. It feels like just a bunch of cyberpunk concepts were just put in a blender and some crappy script was churned out.
No, this feels like a passion project to me.
Well, I hope he got.
It's a one-time director.
Yeah, I hope he got a lot out of it because that was his career.
Yeah,
like he was done after this.
Exactly. Well, it sounded like he had some issues with the production team, like wanting something else versus his image. You know, his vision, I should say.
I'm not convinced if his vision would have been better or worse. It would have probably been more interesting to watch just to see what his movie is, if it was completely his, but we'd have probably been entering into some sort of like borderline Neil Breen territory, I think, if he was given full reign.
We could only hope, right? That's a real artist.
Oh god!
And he's making a new movie.
Like we have ended this 90s season on the lowest of lows. Like I knew this movie was meant to be bad. I'd heard it was bad for years. I'd heard it been made fun of for years. I was not prepared for just how thoroughly depressing it was going to be to watch. So,
I feel sorry that you watched a movie that was bad. Because I didn't.
There's that tone again.
The truth? Is that
That's not the truth.
Is that the tone that you're upset about?
I don't know what's worse. Me coming off sounding like a know-it-all because I'm just saying you're wrong, this is terrible. Or you coming off with this weird, like, oh, Peter, you misunderstood. You don't understand.
I don't understand, like, why you insist that I secretly think this movie's crap and I'm just pretending to like it or pretending that it's good. You did this with Moonfall also. I'm like, no, I genuinely like these movies.
Because it's the only way the world makes sense, Tara.
All right. What are we doing next time?
Avatar, I think. We're doing Avatar.
Oh, wow. That's a big one.
Yeah, Avatar 2 is coming out soon. We've done the first one, so...
I got my tickets.
So it's time to delve into Pandora and... finally, once again, a James Cameron film, because a James Cameron film.
James Cameron.
Yeah, we've done Terminator 1 and 2, we've done Aliens. This will be Avatar. Obviously, we're still waiting on a good version of The Abyss, so we can watch it again and do that, but you know...
You can watch a bad version.
No, we're waiting. I'm waiting. I've waited too long at this point. I'm waiting for that 4K remaster of The Abyss. Come on, Jimbo. I believe in you.
You know, when I was a kid, I loved the name Jimbo so much. I named all of my stuffed animals Jimbo. They all had the same name. Because the name made me laugh.
Named all of her stuffed animals Jimbo, likes Johnny Mnemonic. This truly is going to be the backstory on an episode of FBI Files one day.
What? I don't know what that show is.
So it's about serial killers, Tara.
You think I'm going to be a serial killer?
That's what I'm getting at, yeah.
What? Clearly I'm the victim.
No, you're
anything.
You're a psychopath. You're clearly a psychopath. And all these bits and pieces are all evidence for your weird, warped state of mind.
I don't get you, man.
Gonna be a special episode called Dames Who Decapitate.
No. I'll blame it on horror movies and video games. They told me to do it.
The Tara of Tara.
Nice. That sounded so hard for you to say.
It was hard to say. It's really hard to change terror to Tara. Oh no, they'll call it Terrifier. Boom. Done it. Nailed it.
Nice.
Nailed it in one. Yes. All right. Well, there you go. That's the show. Let us know what you think of Johnny Mnemonic in the comments. And do you know what? There's going to be a couple of weirdos who are on your side, and they're going to finally someone said it.
It got a Blu-ray release this year, a new version of it. There's definitely fans out there.
Manos the Hands of Fate got a Blu-ray release. What's your point?
Really? I should get my hands on that too. My hands of fate on that.
I feel like you're just proving my point for me right now with that reaction.
That is a hard one to sit through without Mystery Science Theater helping you.
Oh dear. Yes. You can subscribe, down the bell for notifications. All those things help us out a lot. And of course, you can support us over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and supporting us for as little as $3 per month to get the bonus episode. Why don't you tell them about the bonus episode and the other main bonus they can get at the $5 tier, Tara?
Yeah, so as previously stated, we just did the Lawnmower Man 2. Was Lawnmower Man also a Patreon exclusive?
It was, yeah.
That was also a bonus. It seems like it would be big enough to not be a bonus, but if you want our thoughts on Lawnmower Man, the franchise, it's on Patreon now at the $3 tier. And we also have another show called Meltdown, Ace Meltdown. Get it? Because it's atomic. And we are melting down by going over all the movies that we've watched that aren't sci-fi, just other films that we've enjoyed or not enjoyed and we've watched throughout the month. And also share stories about big things that happened, and you get to know us a little better, and we quiz each other on science fiction movie knowledge.
Yeah,
so it's a fun time.
Sci-fi movie quizzes, so that's the thing. I'm just glad you got the title of the show right that time, to be honest. That's where I'm at. Yeah.
I did. I mean, I felt bad because you clearly have not had a good night, so I thought I'd do one thing right for you.
Oh, you're too kind. Too kind. This is before Tara the Terrible started her reign of, terror.
There's alliteration there.
There you go. That's been the Atomic Cinema Experiment. I'll just also take this time to thank our Patreon producers for the month. So thank you to Tyler Hess, Cindy Palacios, David Short, Board Now, Christopher Moy, David Brown, Al Treisman, and Alison M. Fordyce for supporting the show. Thank you to all our patrons for supporting the show, and thanks to everyone who just watches the show or listens to it on a podcast feed, wherever you get the show. Thank you very much. We always appreciate it. Keep watching science fiction movies and computer. Add salsa.